All right, so for our throwers warm-up routine, the first thing we're gonna start with here is some foam rolling on the lats. And for this one, for the lats, we're basically gonna go to right at the base of the armpit here. You always know when you're on the right spot for foam rolling on the lats because it'll tell you right away. You'll know exactly when you get it right. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to find, so feel free to kind of work around a little bit and try some different points. But once you get on it, you'll know. And then from here, instead of moving the body back and forth, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate the arm. So for this, I'm just gonna elevate the hand off the ground, rotate my thumb as far back as I can, rotate my thumb down as far as I can, work a little bit of a different angle, here to here. And we'll spend about 60 seconds or so on each side working this. Next, I'm gonna take the foam roller to the T-spine. So I'm gonna go just to the base of the shoulder blades here. And then for this, you can certainly get a little bit of rolling in here. This is a perfectly good spot to roll. But what I wanna use this for is for some extension work. So for here, I'm gonna interlock the fingers behind the head. Take a big inhale. Exhale as I roll back. Sit back to the top. And this is another one we can work for about 60 seconds here. On this, make sure you are coordinating your breathing. Inhale at the top. Exhale as we roll back. Once we finish up our foam rolling work, then we're going to come to the TRX here. And for the TRX, we're going to start back down on the ground in kind of a modified child's pose here. So for this, I'll start in a kneeling position, nice and tall. And then I'm just going to kind of sweep down, full extension, sit tall back at the top. Once we get about 60 seconds there, next one we're going to do is internal and external rotation. So for this, I'm going to contrast between doing a passive stretch using the TRX and then going into kind of an active isometric. So for this, for the passive part and external rotation, I'm gonna step through, and you wanna kind of mimic your throwing angles here. But right here, I'm just kind of passively letting my TRX pull me back, getting my stretch in the posterior capsule or in the rotator cuff area. Go for about 10 seconds there, and then I'm gonna actually step back and then drive forward. So now I'm driving down into internal rotation, 10 seconds, transition back, passive, external rotation, 10 seconds, active, driving down. So for that one, we can do that for about 60 seconds, alternating 10 seconds each, about 30 seconds going into ER, 30 seconds going into IR. Then from there, we're gonna come over to the bands for some band work. And the first one that I like here is just a long arm pull apart. So for this, arms are gonna be long at about chest height. And I'm just gonna work here to here. We'll go about 10 reps on this, hold for like a 2-3 count at the top. One thing to be mindful of here is make sure you're not breaking at the wrist. It's very common. People want to kind of do this here. Make sure wrist stays locked out, palms stay flat to the ground. Once we get about 10 there, then we're going to add a little bit of speed to it. So for this, we're going to do external rotation, but we're going to do it with a dynamic component. So for this, I'm actually going to kind of create some motion, snap and hold. Reset, motion, snap and hold. And this is another one we can do for about 10 reps. And we want to kind of hold isometrically at the top for about a 2-3 count. Now on all internal and external rotations, you want to think more about the elbow driving through for external rotation, more so than pulling the hand back. So as I go into that external rotation position, I'm thinking about my elbow coming through, not necessarily pulling my hand back. Same thing for internal rotation. I'm thinking about driving my elbow up and back, more so than bringing my hand down forward. The last thing that will work for our throwers prep is just gonna be a crab bridge L-sit. So for this, I'm gonna position down. My palms are gonna be flush to the ground, my fingers away from my body, and I'm gonna start with the crab bridge by pushing my hips up and through, and then for the L-sit, I'm gonna pull back and sit tall. Crab bridge up, L-sit down. And for this one, we can go about 10 reps on this, and consistent with everything else, think kind of a 2-3 count hold at each end there.